Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Broad Stipe. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, randomness, out of the blueness, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under the video. And this is for the 2002 film 8-Legged Freaks, which I think this actually did come out on Blu-ray very recently by Shout Factory. And that it has supposedly the features this had, which this had a commentary where David Arquette was on it, which was cool to hear. It was a fun one. And then I guess the new one has a new making of. I don't think David Arquette's on that. He's probably filming the new Scream film. Not that we need it, but someone did interview him back in August of this year and asked him about it, and he said, yeah, it was fun to do. Would have been fun to make a sequel, but the film didn't do well. And that's kind of the theme when you have creature feature films like this that are fun, goofy, entertaining, B movies. A lot of times they don't do well. Even Tremors. Like, Tremors is one of my favorite films ever. It's a B movie, big creature feature, an ode to the 50s sci-fi. That did not do well at all until video. And this film maybe has a little bit of cult following, but at the same time you don't really hear anybody talk about it. And it's not like I thought the film was a fantastic, awesome, one of my favorites. I wouldn't put it up there, but it's silly, goofy, has a charm, and in the tradition of Gremlins and films of that, of what it was going for. And it's actually produced by the guys who worked on Independence Day. Dean Devlin was a producer, Roland Emmerich was the executive producer. And in fact, all the commentary was Dean Devlin along with David Arquette, another actor, Rick Overton, director co-writer Ellory Elkayem, which I don't know what else he's done. He might not have done anything, I don't know. But it's a story about a town in Arizona. There's toxic waste being transported. It is accident. It's in the water. Meanwhile, Tom Noonan, who played the Frankenstein monster in the Monster Squad, he was the villain in Manhunter from the 80s. He's been a lot of stuff. He's a guy who studies spiders. He got some crickets from that way. Spiders ate it, and they became bigger and bigger and bigger. Until they are humongous. This is Consuela, the big bad bitch of the spiderhood. And you have different spiders. You have spiders that grab people from underground. You have spiders that jump, and orb weavers that wrap people up in web to present to the queen, so to speak. Big mama spider. Now here's the thing. If I'm talking about my favorite spider movie, it would always be Arachnophobia. Because Arachnophobia, I do think it's a funnier movie than this. I think it's a wittier movie than this. And it's also a creepier movie because it's actual spiders that they're using. I still don't know to this day how the hell they did some of this stuff with the spiders. Like, I guess they just had a spider crawl and do what it wants. But there's a lot of times where there's an actual spider doing this, doing that. Like in the finale where they're literally crawling out of the woodwork and it's all for real. Until you get to the basement, then you have some pretty, I thought, fun practical effects. Jeff Daniels with a little mini flamethrower in the wine cellar. Where are you? I love Arachnophobia. And it's cool that it's got a special edition, but why the fuck did Arachnophobia not get a special edition? Again, this is a fun movie, and that's probably because of the studio. The studio that owns it, they released a Blu-ray that had really nothing on it. And, I mean, you get Jeff Daniels talk about it, maybe. You get John Goodman, directors, writers, anything. But no, we can't have that. So, it sucks. It's not this movie's fault, but I've just had to throw it out there because I love Arachnophobia that much. It has a Blu-ray, but just nothing on it. But yeah, this has a competent cast. David Arquette, I like David Arquette. I never hated him like other people did. If you're worried that David Arquette does the more goofy shtick, he plays it fairly straight in this. Like, he's not really being wild, crazy, like ready to rumble. But again, even that film I have fun with. Dewey, I think he does a good job in the Scream films. He did this documentary on himself. Well, at least the subject was himself. You Can't Kill David Arquette, which I thought was fantastic. It was my favorite film of, I think it was last year it came out. Loved it. So, he's a guy who's away from town. He's come back. His father owned the mines. He's taking control of them. He wants to work the mines, be the leader, see if we can find this gold that supposedly was there long ago that his dad thought would be there. The sheriff is Kari Wuhrer. I've seen her in other stuff. She was in one of the Hellraiser sequels, the later ones, as the star. She had a bit part in The Adventures of Fort Fairlane. I think she was in the later seasons of Sliders, but that's when the show was getting up shit creek. But I thought she did a good job as the sheriff. Her daughter is actually played by Scarlett Johansson. Yes, well before Black Widow and all that, Scarlett Johansson was in Eight-Legged Freaks as the daughter of the sheriff, Kari Wuhrer's character. And then she has a son who knew Tom Noonan, and Tom Noonan taught him a bit about spiders, so the kid is the expert spider guy. But the kid's not annoying, he's not irritating, which I'm glad. The guy who played the deputy, I thought he did a decent job helping Kari Wuhrer. Duddy Dud from Cool Runnings, he plays this radio personality that's about conspiracies, mainly alien conspiracies. I know the original title of this was Iraq Attack. And they actually reference that because Tom Noonan says it. He's like, "Dude, did it?" Yeah. And the kid's like, "Yeah, I did it." But it would sound, of course, like Iraq Attack. So, I can see why they changed it. I think Eight-Legged Freaks is a better title. Plus, Eight-Legged Freaks does even fit more to that 50s type of mentality. But yeah, the film didn't do well. I don't know if it was marketing or people just didn't want to see a big, spider movie. Maybe that was why. I don't know, sometimes I do get curious as to why a certain film bombed. I think Spider-Man was definitely big at that time. I mean, the movie even references it. What is that? That's a spider, man. And Spider-Man had just come out also in 2002, and I think that probably killed some of this business as well. But it doesn't seem like people really run out to go see big creature feature films. I mean, when you look at the recent history, even I'll try to think what was the last big creature feature. Not including Jurassic Park, but yeah. But they say it has a goofy charm to it. There's definitely some inspiration from even Looney Tunes, because there's a bit where this couple has has a cat, and the cat goes to the drywall, and the spider and the cat are fighting. You hear it, and you see these imprints on the wall like a Looney Tunes cartoon. It definitely does try for some creepy factors, and there are some moments. Again, I think Arachnophobia is a lot creepier, but there are some moments. Again, as a guy that doesn't like spiders, I just don't. I hate spiders. This is one bit, I don't know why the fuck the guy did this. He's working in the mines and the hose is stocked up, and I'm like, would you really try to suck it up with your mouth, to try to get it unstuck? If it was a spiders, it could be something else in there. Like a blob of mud, a bag of shit. I mean, that's how he's trying to get unstuck. I'm like, I don't think that's the protocol. but then you see these spiders coming out of his mouth. There's this one bit in a barber shop where the guy can't hear, and the other guy's calling for him, and you see these legs come out of the back of the chair, the spider rising up, and it is mostly CGI. I do wish they had tried to go practical, but it'd be very hard to do with the amount of creatures. At least some of the up-close shots, at least. I think they could have done a bit more. At least like intersperse practical with CGI. But it's mostly CG. And the CG I could deal with in this case is 2002. And sadly, the CGI looks better than shit I saw in that new Resident Evil movie, for fuck's sake. So, I mean, it's not photorealistic CG. It's definitely CGI of its time. But I think it helps because the spiders, in a weird way, are given personality, which is fun. With how I think it's Frank Welker doing the sound effects. And there's certain things they do that create comedy. And that's kind of one of the drawbacks for me on this is I like the cast. I thought they worked well. Again, liking David Arquette as an actor. I like Duddy Dud. Ever since I first saw him in Cool Runnings. I wish Duddy Dud was in it a little bit more. Kari Wuhrer, yeah, I thought she worked well as the sheriff. But the humor, I would say, came more from the spiders. Like, the genuine humorous moments were from the spiders, not so much the human cast. And that's one of the main reasons why I never put it up there with Tremors or Arachnophobia. Because I do think those are horror, comedy, creature features where it's genuinely more funny, and that's mostly because of the human cast. Whether it's the actors, the writing. I think the writing in this, it's a bit it's just not as well polished for the human cast. Because again, the spiders, like when all the townsfolk have to go to this mall, because this town had this mall that was built in the middle of nowhere, because this one guy's bright idea. And so, as people are rushing into there, the spiders are rushing in. And if you look closely, like over here, you'll see a spider standing and just waving the other spiders in. And that's like something that you might not catch the first or second time, but if you pay attention, again, you'll see like a spider right here standing on something. Like, corralling the people. Come, go, let's go. That was kind of funny. Or even the way they're chasing these motorcycle guys, these motocross guys. And you have this chase sequence where they're grabbing them and jumping and tackling them, and they even tackle onto a semi-truck and was trying to get away, and ultimately just is crushed. And that's not to say the human cast gets zero laughs. They did some fun moments as well, to be fair. I just wouldn't call it consistently hilarious. But moments of, oh, that was cute, or okay, I didn't mind that, or that wasn't too bad, that type of thing. But again, that's just me. And like I said, there's entertaining set pieces. I mentioned in the motocross with the bikers and the spiders jumping and grabbing all of them. There's a couple creepy moments, like when people get webbed up and the way they get webbed up, and the idea that it's for the big mama. Her nickname is Consuela. That right there will dig in and suck out the juices. And there is a sense of danger because there are people who die. They kill a cat earlier. Granted, very like Looney Tunes style, but it still does. And throughout the finale, there are people who die. There are people who don't make it. But at the same time, it's still consistently more of a goofy, humorous film. Like, okay, another bit with the spiders is when David Arquette yells into this cop car and they're driving away. You have this one spider stuck to the back. And as it's driving around, you see the spider being dragged, trying to get out, but being dragged the whole time. And you have some pretty goofy sound effects with that. And yeah, if I'm trying to be fair with some of the humans, like David Arquette, like he plays this fairly straightforward, which it's interesting to see David Arquette play something a bit different of that nature, but at the same time, I'm like, it was a bit strange to hire David Arquette for the straightforward role. But yeah, it's glad to see him in this because I'm a fan, and yeah, it's just typically you would have him as try to be a bit more humorous, but at the same time, again, it was nice to see a change of pace from him. Let's see what else is there. I'm trying not to forget stuff. There's some satisfying moments of killing spiders. There's the bit where David Arquette says the title line as him and Duddy Dud try to climb this antenna. Get back to A-Lady Freights! And that's kind of the main thing that stuck in my crawl is I don't know what movie it was in front of, like what DVD, but there was a teaser for this. I remember David Arquette yelling that out. And there was a tagline, "You don't like spiders? Well, they don't like you either." I thought that was a funny tagline, and get back, you A-Lady Freights! Just the way he screamed out. And apparently that was an ad-lib from David Arquette. That was an ad-lib, and that became the title of the movie, which is, I thought, pretty interesting. But again, the actors held their own. It does play in that fun beef movie that you just don't see anymore. You don't see a lot of those just entertaining, fun movies. You just go in and it's like, we know this is about a big spider thing, but it's got enough of a budget that the spiders, with the help of CGI, are on screen quite a bit. They do a bit of damage in the third act. I mean, the third act did remind me of something like Gremlins, when they're just taking over this town. And just left or right, people been taken and grabbed and taken away and webbed up. So there's definitely a bit of a budget. I mean, it does seem like a movie that Joe Dante would have directed. And even the finale and the mines and the face-off against the big mama spider and some pretty decent stunt work with the motorcycle folks. Like there's someone riding a motorcycle and real explosions behind them, and you see for a second they're engulfed in flames. Supposed to be David Arquette and this woman he's saving, but they have the helmets on, so the stunt people, there's CG fire, but there's also real fire. You see it engulf them for a second. I mean, that's pretty fucking scary. You're right, and the flames engulf you for a second as you keep going, and that's probably the thing for the stunt. Don't fucking stop. Like, there's one rule. Do not fucking stop. Because you stop, it's going to be way worse. Don't stop, and don't fucking trip. The score is very, in terms of the goofiness. At times the score seems a bit too silly. Almost to blatantly tell you, hey, this is silly. It's like, well, the visuals are selling this along. The score, again, when you look at films like Tremors and Gremlins, to me they had better musical scores, and they didn't have to sell us tremendously on the silliness of the nature. At least that's what it seemed like to me. Here, it just seemed like it... I wouldn't say I was the biggest fan of the musical score. I'm trying... John Ottman. But again, I mean... If you like films like Gremlins and Tremors, if you like films that's just trying to be entertaining... fun. It didn't feel long either. It's only... It barely cracked an hour and 40 minutes. That's within credits. So it's 90-some minutes. You go in, you go out, and yeah, it's a throwback to a type of film they just don't make anymore. Like, think about in this year alone. I would like to see more movies like Alien Freaks. And Alien Freaks, again, I wouldn't call it one of my favorites. I would give it maybe 3.5 out of 5 stars, maybe. Just again, like the musical score wasn't too big on, and I guess not too much fault on the film, but the CGI is not the most polished, and like I said, I do think the spiders did a bit more laughs than the humans, but at the same time, you know, the humans are still fun to watch, because yeah, I like the actors, and there's still, you know, again, a couple funny bits, but it is one of those films where some people would say, oh, I wish we could see those type of films again, but then if they make it, people wouldn't go see it, it would flop, and then you go, well, where are the people that were complaining about that, were wanting these type of films? And then when they make them, they flop, and it's like, well, what are studios going to do? They're not going to keep making something that bombs. Otherwise, they don't have a job anymore. They don't have an endless supply of money. And believe me, I don't defend studios a lot, but I can understand that mentality. So yeah, if you haven't seen the film, or you haven't seen the film in a while, pop this in. Or if you don't have the DVD, again, Shout Factory came out with the Blu-ray, which I would not mind picking up. Because again, I think there's a new making of, I think they said that Duddy Dud is interviewed, and maybe Dean Devlin, and like some of the people that worked on the effects, and but yeah, I'd be curious to give that a look, so maybe one day. I do like, back in the day, it was usually Warner Bros. That did this. They had the more cardboard DVDs. Yeah, they flip like this. I always liked this presentation. I don't know why, it feels more secure, and also on the back, at least they put like pictures, or they do a little bit of detail instead of just being blank. And yeah, there's Duddy Dud right there. And yeah, David Arquette gets a lot of shit, but yeah, I always liked him. He seems like a good guy. Seems like a very decent guy, and I thought he has a charm. Even though he's being more straightforward in this, he still has a charm that, you know, the more I think about it, I can see why it fits the film, that kind of charm. You know, and that's not too bad compared to a lot of the films in today's state. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.